start our Monday morning off with you. We're going to get started in just one moment. Quick housekeeping announcement. The restrooms are right outside the hall here and to the right. You do need a key for the restroom, so you can use either one of these for either the men's or women's both work. And then you can just have our front desk receptionist check you back in. And with that, we'll have our President and CEO, Shakima Fulmore-Townsend, open up our session today.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm very excited to see so many people interested in supporting the work of our E3 services. For those who don't know me personally, I see a lot of new faces, which is very exciting. I've been at the Philadelphia Youth Network now for nearly 15 years. And I know I'm not supposed to say this out loud, but this is one of my favorite projects because it was the project that I started working on when I first came here. So I have a very soft spot for ensuring that young people who are previously disconnected from school or on their journey towards post-secondary success, how do they get there, right? And how do adults support them in delivering that service? And so I've watched this project grow in many different ways, serving young people, supporting different types of young people over the years, and I'm excited about the evolution. Today you will hear from lots of wonderful people who work here at PYN. There'll be an opportunity for you to document any questions that you have. The purpose of today is really to go through the approach to the services. A couple of important things that you should know is that we will be collecting questions that you have, and we will be posting those answers so that those who are here can see all the questions and see all the answers, but also those who couldn't join us. So I just want to kind of temper expectations if you think you are going to get answers right now. That's not the process that we take in order to ensure equity throughout the process. My role today is to share a little bit about the Philadelphia Youth Network overall, so you get a better feel for the context of how these services fit in the grand scheme of the mission and the vision of the organization. So, who's PYN? What do we do? We are focused on solving the root causes towards poverty and inequity by supporting young people, right? We don't want to see them left out of this discussion or anti-poverty strategies. And so we do that in a variety of ways, but primarily if you had to bucket those ways, it would fall into two spaces: education and employment. And the and is important for us because we don't do education or employment. Everything that we do is focused on both learning and preparing for the future workforce. And we do that in a variety of ways. Some you might be very familiar with, like Work Ready Philadelphia, which is all about our employment services that go across year-round and summer. And also, you may have heard about Project U-Turn, right, which is our local response, the alliance that's really supporting increasing high school graduation and post-secondary success. What does that look like on the ground, right? What does it look like in the work that we do? It looks like we will employ strategies to explore how policy is affecting practice, right? And so when new policy comes out, new resources, monies, we do look at the policy climate and say, how do we bring all of those different ideas around how young people should be supported together in a connected way? That is one of the roles that we play. We also look at how does all of these policies affect what we do on the ground, and how can we create a network of programs so that limited resources are used in the most efficient way to serve the most young people possible. It also looks like we design frameworks of services, right? And E3 is a framework for services, but we also do that through our summer employment programs. And we basically look at the system and say, what are the needs of many people involved? What are the needs of young people, especially, and that's the most important? What are the needs of community? What are the needs of policymakers and government and elected officials? What are the needs of the community-based organizations? And then we look for where those concentric circles converge. We look at how do we pick actions that are going to make ripples of impact, right? Because resources are limited, and I'm sure you understand that. At the end game, our goal is that young people become productive working adults, and that they are equipped and knowledgeable about all the resources out there to them, all the many possibilities, and that those young people are so aware of their skills, their talents, the experiences, the networks of adults that they have, that they can select the best career path for them. That's the game that we're in. So let's tell you a little bit about what we've accomplished since we've been around. So we've been around for about 20 years, and since 1999, we've provided 192,000 high-quality education and employment opportunities. What does that look like on the ground? We use data from multiple sources to guide our actions. So I think something that's very important for you all to know about us as an organization is we are constantly reflecting on the progress we're making and looking at the data to see if we're making a difference. For us, what's driving our work currently right now is that there are about 90,000 young people who are seeking employment and education, further education. And then there are also employers out there consistently saying, we can't find the talent that we need. Our work is to bridge that gap, right? To make sure that young people are having the experiences so that they can build the skills and meet the needs of today, like enter in the workforce, but not just the needs of today, meet the needs of the future workforce, and that they can advance and move along their career. For us, who are we serving, right? Typically, we've been in the last year, this data is about the last program year, we've been serving a little bit more young ladies than males. Typically, we've been about 50-50, but that's a shift in our data. You can see from the age span, we're really supporting young people between the ages of 12 to 24, but there's a higher concentration 21 and younger and moving forward. And then predominantly by race, the young people that we're serving are overwhelmingly young people of color, and also young people who are coming from households that clearly indicate they need the support and the services that we provide. How are we doing that, right? What is it that we're doing in our work in order to make that happen? I'll talk a little bit more about that. One, I'm going to start on the far side of the slide to say we have a career development framework. That framework organizes the activities of our system into different stages because young people are at different points along the continuum. It's not necessarily about age, it is about experience and exposure. So you could be in the early stage of the continuum, you could be in the intermediate stage of the continuum, or you could be in the advanced stage of the continuum. What we do is look at, no matter where you are, what are the skills you need for the future, which is outlined in our career development framework? What are the mindsets that you need to have in order to acquire those skills? How do we make sure that you have access to both the academic and technical skills in order to be able to progress? How do we ensure that you can be reflective? How do we ensure that you can take what you're learning and apply it moving forward? And we put all of those things together in order to organize how a young person would move throughout the continuum. And now we're in the process of just building out different parts of the continuum. And that's what's really brought us here today around looking at the E3 services that we want to provide and thinking through where does it fit in this framework, which is in the intermediate section of the framework. And then what needs to happen in order for young people to be ready, so when they go from beginner to intermediate, how do they show up? And then what does it mean for them to leave or transition to the next stage? Because the goal is progression towards your career. We've had in the last year, this is last program year, not in the last year, but last program year, how does the opportunities kind of look across the continuum, right? So many of them are short-term opportunities that I've spoken about that happen throughout the summer. And we have several models in our summer employment programs, and we've had about a little over 10,000 of the opportunities we've created throughout the course of last program year were actually in the short term. And then about 6,800 of them are long term, meaning they occur at a rate grade 8 to 12 weeks, 16 weeks. They're a little longer than our typical summer program. We also don't do this work alone, which is why I'm happy to see so many people interested in partnering with us. because it would not happen if we did not work with community-based organizations who have the ability to put the services on the ground, to recruit young people, and to deliver the services in context of the needs of the community. So typically we work with a lot of community-based organizations. For that program year, we had about 55. We already know that this next program year it's going to grow dramatically because we've been welcoming new partners into the system and developing new ways to partner with folks so that we can ensure that young people are served. We also would not be able to do what we do, especially in the realm of employment and employment experiences, without strong connections to employers and the business community. And that includes a lot of nonprofit organizations as well. But we've had, in this program year, nearly 975 work sites. That means we are responsible for ensuring that those places are ready to receive the young people, that those adults are trained and prepared to deliver the experiences that will help them acquire those skills. And then in partnership with our community-based organizations, we support the training of the adults, we support all of the statutory responsibilities related to that, so that when young people show up at a work site or at a program or show up for an experience, that all parties are working towards the same goal. So it is a comprehensive system that occurs with many different partners. One of the things that we are proud of is that the work that we do does result in young people earning dollars, right? And there is an economic value to this work. And in this program year, young people earned over $6 million. What we know about when young people are able to earn, we know that they are able to directly support their needs, whether it goes back to situations in their family or in their home, preparing for school. But we do know that young people invest that money right back into the community, and that is really important for us to all understand. It's also important to know that the work is making a difference, right? And what are some of the impacts that we see every day when we do this work? For us, we look at young people connecting to a network of adults who can help them navigate the next step, right? So 92% of the young people in our short-term opportunities reported that they did identify a caring adult. That is really critical. There's a lot of research that talks about the role of both mentoring and the role of caring adults and support, having the support in order to move forward. 97% of the young people said that they were actually satisfied with their work experience, which is a great opportunity for us to see that the work that we put together in terms of training and support and creating a diverse network of experiences, that young people actually are satisfied with that. And 96% experience an interest in their future career. They are making a connection. They're making a connection between what am I doing in this place, at this job, and what do I need to move forward in my education. So that is really important because at the end of the day, we want to open the window of possibility for young people, and the way that we do that is how we deliver the services to them. So I want to talk a little bit about our strategic plan and where we are in this. We've just concluded the second year of a 3-year strategic plan called 2020 Vision. It is riveting reading, so I say if you have not had a moment to dive deeply into it, put it on your nightstand and pick it up right before bed. I promise you, you will not be disappointed. But what the 2020 Vision outlines for the world is what work we intend to do over the next 3 years, why are we doing it, and the data that supports it. So for the Philadelphia Youth Network, it was really important for us to describe how we were going to go about addressing poverty and how we were going to go about addressing gaps in our system, which we refer to as inequity. We chose to articulate that we will function in 3 roles. One of them was a systems builder. And that's important because we want to see a legacy of supports outlast any funding stream, any particular, pensions, whether it's policy or government-wise. We want to see an extensive set of services because young people are unique and diverse and dynamic, and also the needs of employers change dramatically as well. We want to be able to be responsive for that. One of the things that we knew when we started out in this work is that our system did not have the capacity to meet the demand. In other words, there were more young people coming to us asking us to have the experience than we could ever supply. Typically we're turning away about half of them. So we wanted a system that would at least be able to have 20,000 opportunities no matter what, and that we want that system to be sustainable. And we all know, you all do this work, that sustainability is one of the chief challenges in any effort, is how do you keep it going beyond the initial investment or beyond the second investment. And that's one of the things that I'm really proud of when I look at the E3 Center's efforts over the last 15 years in the services, is that this particular strategy has been sustained for over 15 years. That says a lot about the ability of the work to transition as the context transitions. So our first goal was to expand the continuum of our services and to build a system that had the capacity at about 30% higher than we had, which would equate to 20,000. The second thing we knew we wanted to do was we wanted to explore ways to remove barriers to employment and education. We appreciate innovation and doing things differently and new, but we did not want to do it just because it would be new, right? Just a new title to a program or a new way to go about it. We really wanted to change the way the system was functioning in order to explore how do we make sure more get in and more move forward, right? And I'll give you an example of that. One of the things that we struggled with was how do we make sure that following the acquisition of a secondary credential, whether that be a high school diploma or a GED, that young people are able to enter into whatever post-secondary choice they have, whether that be college or a job, and persist, right? Like do well, not just go, but really exceed and excel. When we looked at the college going rates, they were lower than we had anticipated. And young people were experiencing a significant amount of just challenges, from navigating the post-secondary landscape to being academically prepared to succeed in class. Well, we were fortunate to acquire some resources nationally through the Aspen Institute and Jobs for the Future. That allowed us to really focus on what are the barriers. And so we were able to build bridge programming, meaning start your college experiences and understanding what's expected of you in college while you're in the centers, while you're receiving the services towards your secondary diploma. And we was also able to do what we would call, let's say, follow-up services or support you as you go through your first semester, because those were areas where we saw young people struggling the most. So that's one example. It was a new program, it was a pilot, we launched it. We have great resources on our website. I definitely suggest you look at that. But that's one way the innovation incubator role. Our goal was to launch, I lose track of how many we started out. We wanted to launch and scale 3 pilots. We actually ended up launching 8 of them. And we are in the process of determining which of those 8 need to be scaled. And scale could look like do it for more young people or keep doing it, or change the system because you've learned something new that will be really valuable and make the services more abundant. And then the last thing we wanted to do was support other communities and learn from those other communities as well. And we sought to be in 2 states outside of Pennsylvania where they were doing the similar work, but that our efforts or our progress that we've made over the last 20 years could benefit them from scaling, and we were actually able to do that. So let's look at the data. Where are we? We're at, in the last program year, we were at about 85% of the goal, so we already came out the gate. We started the system at about 15,000 opportunities, and in year 1 of our strategic plan, we got to 17,020. So we were able to implement new strategies that opened up the number of opportunities to young people. We were able to find new partnerships. We were able to launch new programs. There was a lot that happened in year 1 that we were really thankful for, and we didn't know it was going to work out that way, but it gave us a huge boost towards sustaining the system and moving the system forward. And I'll give you a little sneak peek. We only did more in year 2, so we're moving steadily along in that goal. The other thing, I already told you this, we already launched 8 pilots. We have scaled 1, which is the post-secondary bridging, and then in the last year we actually did scale another one, and we'll continue to move forward as we move to year 3 of our strategic plan. And lastly, we actually accomplished our goals. So we were able to support the workforce efforts in Detroit, which we continue to work with them. And also we had a small project in Seattle. So we were able to accomplish that goal and learn both ways to adjust our system, which we actually are applying this year. And we also learned ways that the things that our system needs in order to thrive. And those are both valuable experiences as we think about scaling both locally, how do we build a sustainable system, how do we attract diverse resources, and how do we ensure that young people here in Philadelphia are receiving the best services that they can. See that? is my full portion, and I am going to turn it over to Roxy. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning again, everyone. So we are going to now dive into what you all came here to learn about this morning, get into the meat of the RFP. So my name is Roxy Barnaby. I'm the Director for Education and Workforce Policy and Strategy here at PYN. And you'll see me pop up one other time. We're trying to, give you a variety of speakers, as Shakima mentioned in the beginning. And I will just say also, even though we did say the end time would be noon, we are ahead of schedule, so we'll probably be able to get you out of here a little bit earlier, so you can look forward to getting some more time back to your day. Okay, so for the rest of the presentation this morning, we're going to go over the funding priorities. That's where I'm going to start. And then I'll be turning it over to our Senior Director for External Relations, Farah Farnese, to go a little bit more in depth into the career development framework that Shakima touched upon, and in particular how E3 services really fit into that CDF. And then we'll go through some more particulars about the E3 services, operations requirements, proposal guidelines, of course, and the submission process. Okay, so just to remind everybody, the logistics for the day today, you do all have note cards, and we have pens here at the front. As questions come to you, please feel free to write them down. We also have plenty of note cards, so if you need more than one, that's totally fine. We will collect those, and then we will collect all of the questions and responses and post those on our website. All questions received today will be posted with answers by Friday, February 3rd online at pyninc.org/RFP. And again, that's to ensure that we do our best to have an equitable process for everybody who might be interested in applying. Also, any questions throughout the process after today, as things come up, can be submitted by email to pynrfp@pyninc.org by February 7th. Please note that deadline. And again, all of these dates and deadlines are in the RFP in multiple places. We will also be posting this full presentation online, and all of these deadlines are there as well, but we just want to make sure to kind of reiterate these as we go. So E3 would not be possible without our system of stakeholders. We have the Office of Children and Families at the City of Philadelphia, Philadelphia Works, who is our local workforce development board, and other public and private funders who, as we see various funding opportunities come up that are relevant to E3, PYN will often apply for those kinds of grants and try to bring in those additional dollars to E3. So one example Shakima touched upon was our post-secondary bridging pilot that we have running in our E3 centers. So our funding priorities for, this RFP. Okay. And we'll go into some more detail about each of these during my portion here, but so first, we want to provide employment preparation for young adults 16 to 24 with and without a secondary credential who are disconnected from school and/or work. And for some of you, you may be familiar with the term opportunity youth. If you're not, that's okay. But if you do hear that term, this is often the population that we're referring to. Provide paid work experiences and educational services based in the intermediate phase of the career development framework. And again, Farah will go into a little bit more detail about that. Provide a rolling enrollment model for the population served, and we'll go into some more detail about what exactly that means in subsequent slides. Focus on identifying and supporting the transition to a CDF advanced phase next step in a participant's career pathway through individualized coaching and upskilling. And again, you'll hear kind of what advanced programming means as well. Provide an intentional connection to and retention in CDF advanced phase opportunities. So priority one, provide employment preparation for this population. We are seeking to increase the number of experiences we offer in the intermediate phase of the career development framework. A key strength of our system has been and will continue to be the unique approaches among the network of organizations offering E3 services. So again, as Shakima kind of mentioned in the beginning, we're so happy to see so many of you here because it really does just provide us an opportunity to really explore the variety of services that can fit into these intermediate phase programs. And so in terms of population who we are really focused on serving, at least 60% of youth served must be without a secondary credential. At least 25% of youth served must have current involvement with the justice system, juvenile or adult, since we are looking at serving 16 to 24-year-olds. And no more than 50% of youth served can be over age 21 while receiving services. Priority two, provide paid work experiences and educational services. So this really speaks to our increased focus on stronger literacy and numeracy skill development that must be addressed before young people are at a reasonable academic level to focus on attaining that secondary credential. GED and secondary credential preparation and attainment are critical, but they are just a milestone on the pathway to employment preparation. Providers must have employment partnerships and opportunities in the community to provide participants with these paid work experiences while those participants are actively enrolled and receiving job readiness or academic support and training. Priority three, provide a rolling enrollment model for the population served. So the intent of the E3 investment is to engage young people in some sort of service as soon as they are determined to be eligible. We all know that this is critical in keeping young people attached to us and not letting them slip through the cracks. PYN recognizes that many aspects of educational employment offerings may necessitate the formation of cohorts in programming. But prospective service providers must provide services and offerings that will engage participants in meaningful supports even while waiting for a new cohort to begin. Priority four, focus on identifying and supporting the transition to a CDF advanced phase next step. And really the key here is through individualized coaching and upskilling. E3 services are designed to provide intensive coaching and upskilling where young people receive services focused on identifying their needs and building up knowledge, supports, and self-advocacy skills to enable them to successfully transition to more of those advanced programs such as post-secondary education, a job training program, or retention, advancement, and an employment opportunity in the future after leaving E3 services. And our priority five, provide an intentional connection to and retention in those CDF advanced phase opportunities. There is an expectation with this investment that youth will be prepared for and linked to advanced phase programs when exiting E3 services. This next step along the individual career pathway may include additional education, post-secondary education, advanced training, programming, and or employment. Ensuring the successful transition requires applicants to maintain upskilling and transition or coaching services with participants for at least 90 days after moving on to their next step. Okay, so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Farah Farnese, our Senior Director for External Relations.
Hi everybody, how are you doing today? So I think as you saw both in Shakima's presentation and also in Roxy's, we referenced the career development framework quite a lot. It's referenced throughout the RFP, and it's also coordinated with other citywide systems. And so if people have looked at the WIOA RFP that is released by Philadelphia Works, you will see reference to the career development framework, as well as anyone that was connected to the out-of-school time system for summer. The intent of the career development framework is really to align our larger system-wide work around kind of common goals, common themes, and common language. And so as you see here, this is kind of the bigger picture, and as we talked about, as I just mentioned, it really does create that shared understanding. Supports practitioners in efforts to increase the scale and quality of your career development activities. So how are you thinking about your programs as organizations, linking them towards each other? So thinking about, where are my programs falling along the career development framework? How can I better align our participants within that framework? And also looking at the various skills and mindsets that need to be developed in programming. And so how are we helping you as practitioners think through that? PYN, one of the values that we are really trying to add is to do some additional TA and professional development to organizations as they're thinking about their programs themselves. Also helping employers identify how they're fitting into a larger citywide system. And so empowering both funders, system builders like ourselves, and even